Mother shook her head wearily. How can we know if the fighting will ever stop? She asked. Or if the Khmer Rouge won't win back control of the country? How will we know that we can ever live in peace? We won't know, Mother, Sarun said gently, but at least we can try. Quietly, my mother looked at the scorched earth around her and then, without another word, dug up her small silver amulet of the Lord Buddha from where she had buried it years ago beside the bamboo grove. Then we hitched up our ox cart and started the long journey westward. That was 9 days ago, and our meager supply of food and our strength were running low. Yet there was still no sign of this border. Instead, we had caught so many glimpses of fighting and bloodshed on the main roads that we decided to take to the small dirt paths winding through the forest. Sometimes we met other people traveling in small, silent groups, on foot or in ox carts like ours, but beyond exchanging a cautious greeting or some brief directions, no one ever talked to us. Once we met some Vietnamese soldiers on patrol who saw us before we could hide, but they made no attempt to stop us. By Sarun's calculations, we should have been at this refugee camp at the border 2 days ago. I stole a glance at him now. What if he was wrong and there was no such thing? The thick forest stretched out in front of us, quiet and dark. There seemed to be no end to it. Then I heard it again, the distinct sound of a clear bronze bell in the distance. It was coming closer. I sat up straight and noticed that Sarun had cocked his head toward the sound, so he had heard something too. Then I saw it. Smooth and polished, the bronze bell flashed in the afternoon sun. It was dangling from the neck of a milk-white Brahmin bull, who slowly emerged from the shadows of some teak trees. I told you, I said triumphantly. Sarun just stared, awestruck. The bull was pulling a cart heaped high with gunny sacks of rice, with plowshares, with hoe heads, with rope, and even fish nets. So heavily laden was the cart that it swayed from side to side as it moved, creaking noisily. As we watched, the wheels of the ox cart slipped into a deep rut and lodged there. The driver stood up in the cart and flicked his whip at the ox, urging it to pull. Nostrils flared. The bull strained at its harness, but it was no use. The cart did not budge. Sarun jumped down from our ox cart and ran over to the other wagon. Nodding briefly at the driver, he gripped one of the spokes in the stuck wheel and began to push. The other man climbed down and joined him. For some time there was only the sound of grunts as both men applied their weight on either side of the large wooden wheel. Then slowly, inch by inch, they eased it out of the rut, and the cartwheel rolled free. The stranger wiped the sweat off his forehead and his sleeve. Thanks, brother, he said. It's nothing, Sarun replied. That's quite a load you have there. The man laughed. Everything a person could want, he said. Sarun circled the cart. There was a small tear in one of the sacks, and he squeezed something out of the slit onto his hand. I heard him gasp. What is it? I asked. Wordlessly, he came over to me and stretched out his hand. Cupped in his palm were some grains of rice, each one still encased in a protective shell of thin, brown husk. Rice seed, he said, his voice soft with wonder. My heart leaped. Rice seed. Rice not just to eat, but to grow. Looking at the brown husk cupped in my brother's hand, I felt that we could really go home and plant a good crop after all. Where did you get this? Sarun was asking the other man. Is there any more? Any more, brother? Is there any more water in the sea? Is there any more soil on the ground? The man laughed again, a deep, throaty laugh. There's more rice there than I've ever seen in my life. Husked rice, long rice, short rice, sticky rice, flagrant rice. And rice seed? Saroon prompted. Rice seed? Listen, if they stacked up all the bags of rice seed there, they'd have a pile as high as the Cardamom Mountains. And all of this was at the border? Saroon asked. It's not just rice, brother, the other man went on. Why, they've got enough tools there to build another Angkor temple and enough fish nets to catch all the fish in Tonsap Lake. Tell me where, Saroon asked, his voice urgent. Was it at the border? Of course, the stranger said, at Nong Chan. Saroon swallowed hard. Nong Chan, he repeated. I could see the lump in his throat bob up and down. It's true then. Those rumors of free food and supplies at the refugee camp. It's all true. It was not really a question, but a plea. I realized then that, despite my brother's assurances to us, he must have had doubts all along. The stranger sensed the tension in Saroon and grew serious. If I laughed too much just now, he said, it was not because I was joking. No, it's just that the happiness keeps jumping out of my throat. Yes, brother, it's all true, what they say about the border. And there's more there for free. Just stand in line and they'll practically throw things at you, the man said and laughed again. Behind me, I saw my mother bow her head over her silver amulet and pray. Thanks be to the Lord Buddha, she whispered. And although for the past 3 years I had not prayed, so that now I could barely remember the words with which to speak to the Buddha, I bent my head and gave thanks too.